Hey there, we're covering Chapter 12 for the Law for International Business. Chapter 12 is going to be the only chapter for our final exam. It's a long chapter, and I'll be emailing you something about the structure of the final exam. And so here are some of the highlights. I'll just touch the highlights here. The title of the chapter is Imports, Customs, and Tariff Law. And this is not a dumb question, but who can enact tariff law in the United States? Of course, Congress does. The U.S. Bureau of Customs and Border Protection within the Department of Homeland Security enforces customs law, and there are 7 different customs regions in the United States. There's a formal entry process that refers to the administrative process required to import goods into the stream of commerce of the United States. Most of what we're talking about today will be importing goods into the United States. 4 basic requirements to import goods. The goods have to arrive at a U.S. port of entry, of which there are many. The goods have to be of a type that are permitted entry. The goods have to be delivered after being authorized by customs, and the estimated duties need to be paid. Once merchandise has arrived, the goods must be entered, that's in quotes, the word entered, within 15 days, or they are sent to an unclaimed freight warehouse. So once they arrive, somebody's got to come pick them up. There's a lot of documentation required. You have to have an invoice concerning all of the goods. The invoice needs to be in the English language. Don't forget on your invoice to put the country of origin, or your goods are going to be rejected. If any duties are owed, the importing person can deposit those estimated duties with customs. They can settle up later if there's any excess customs owed. If there are no issues with the import, the transaction will be, quote, liquidated, meaning it's finished. It's imported. That's it. Penalties can be very great if you violate customs law. You don't even want to think about violating customs law. Penalties are going to be so great. Criminal penalties, civil penalties, 100% tariff penalties, things like that. Tariffs are applied to goods according to an item's dutiable status. Dutiable status. Now, the whole world got together a while back, and they said, we're going to classify things uniformly. Each country is going to try to classify them uniformly. And there's something called the Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System, known as the Harmonized System. And that just tries to give all items, let's say a laptop computer has a certain number, a certain series of letters and numbers that identify it as a laptop computer. And if the harmonized system works correctly, it gets the same number in France or in Ethiopia or in Japan or in the United States. So you need to first correctly describe the goods. Chapter 12 talks a lot about the harmonized system. There are over 5,000 classifications of goods in the harmonized system. There are general overall chapters, and there's sub-chapters and subheadings and title, tariff items, and all things like that. For instance, one of the general chapters is called Coffee, Tea, and Spices. So if you're importing instant iced tea, it's going to fall into that chapter. What is tariff engineering? Tariff engineering is the process of modifying or engineering your product prior to importing the product to make the tariff lower. There's nothing wrong with tariff engineering. If if a computer imported into the United States, which has a regular English alphabet keyboard, has a lower tariff than a computer which has a Danish character keyboard, then you're probably going to want to put an English character keyboard in to pay less in tariffs. The customs value of an item is often called the dutiable value. And so you pay your tariff according to the dutiable value. The authors of the textbook continually stress the value of exporters and importers hiring professional agents to guide them through the import process. If the transaction value or the dutiable value cannot be determined, there are rules that Chapter 12 talks about to get the dutiable value more easily determined. Now, there can be only one country of origin on your papers. Don't put various countries of origin. And if a thing really comes from multiple countries, there are rules the textbook talks about to determine what the one country you're going to put on your documents is. Various tests, again, you can check out your book. GATT, G-A-T-T 1994, Agreement on Rules of Origin, calls on countries to harmonize and clarify their rules of origin. There's special rules of origin for textiles and for apparel that don't apply to regular items. There are labeling rules that are applied to imported items. There are some items, due to their size or nature, that are exempt from labeling rules. For example, nuts and bolts are so small they don't have to be labeled with their country of origin. Let's see. The United States has recognized that trade with developing countries is essential to developing a stable and economic political situation. Congress feels this is especially true within the Western Hemisphere, Latin America, and so on. And customs laws are designed to help promote trade with developing countries. All right, and I think that's probably good enough for Chapter 12. I think when you get my email message about Chapter 12, you'll be very happy how the final exam is going to be structured. So that's it for Chapter 12. Bye.